G'day, fuckheads! Your boy MajorKill's recovered from the flu, so my voice should sound less like it's gargled some crusty balls, and more like it's sucked on some good quality ass. If you know me at all, I'm a massive fan of everyone's favourite bony boy, Cetra the Imperishable, and the Tomb Kings as a whole. As such, when I learned about 40k, people said the Necrons were a lot like Space Tomb Kings, and there was some bitch called Imhotep that was more like Cetra, so obviously my necro fetish kicked in. I just had to know more. After learning what I could, I can still safely say that Cetra is the one who will take my anal virginity. However, the Necrons are a great faction, and aren't just a bunch of mindless murder robots that a lot of people perceive them as. I would honestly go as far to say the Necrons will save the galaxy, and are the true protagonists of the setting. Now, when the galaxy was young, it was a pretty chill place. Chaos didn't actually exist at this point of time, and the Tyranids were likely just a bunch of angry worms on some shit planet somewhere. There were basically two groups of entities at the start. The old ones, who were the ultimate good guys, super advanced godlike toads that went about creating life. They're responsible for the existence of the Elder, Orcs, and even humans, although that is fucking heresy. The other group were the Satan, or the Star Gods. Now, non-chaos aligned Star Gods sound good, don't they? Well, they fucking weren't. They were basically just a bunch of glorified star vampires that went around eating suns and shit. They didn't even have much sentience at the time, they were just a bunch of parasites. More on them later. Shortly after the universe began, an ugly race of sunburnt motherfuckers appeared, and they were called the Necron tier. These cunts were to become the Necrons later on, but for the moment they were just a bunch of sad sausages. They lived on a planet with a really shitty ozone layer and no sunscreen, so their lifespan was very short. As their lives were filled with death and suffering, they had two obvious cultural choices. They could either become a bunch of edgy meme mods, or take the classy route and become Egyptian. Fortunately, they chose to become Egyptian, so we're all good in that department. Many generations passed before the Necron tier were finally able to go into the stars and get away from their cancer-fest of a planet. They quickly set up a powerful empire due to the lack of opposition at the time. The Necron tier basically became one of the galaxy's only spacefaring civilizations. If there was any opposition, I'm pretty sure the Necron tier would get raped. Like, just look at the cunts. Do you think an orc would have any trouble killing a bunch of sad old sausages? After more peaceful conquering, the Necron tier encountered the old ones. Now, the Necron tier might have gotten away from their shitty planet, but they still got a lot of cancer anyway, so they're pretty jealous of the old ones who not only did not get cancer, but just also never died. The old ones also would not share their secrets to immortality with the Necron tier, which I guess is kind of dog but also pretty fair. If I was a space toad, I wouldn't want some ugly cancer fucks bothering me forever either. Anyways, the Necron tier continued their salty sausage streak and engaged in a bloody civil war for some fucking reason. Officially, each dynasty had gotten independent and wanted more power from the Necron tier Triarch, which was their ruling council. But like I said, their reasoning for a civil war this massive was stupid. I feel like everyone is so fucking trigger happy in Warhammer. Like, I could accidentally litter on someone else's planet and they'd be like, alright laddies, time for war. Like, fuck off mate. Cool people about the Triarch. They are their Necron tier's top governors, made up of 3 pharaohs. The leader was called the Silent King, and his will was communicated through the other 2 pharaohs, hence the name Silent King. He didn't really talk that much. This seems like a really stupid way for an advanced spacefaring race to have a political system, but who gives a fuck. Anyway, to the end of the Necron tier civil war, the Triarchs decided they had to unite against a common enemy. Smart. The enemy they chose was the Old Ones. Not so smart. With the promise that would take the Old Ones on mortality, the Necron tier stopped fighting each other and instead fought the Old Ones, and boy oh boy, did they lose pretty badly. The Old Ones have really advanced technology combined with the support of billions of sentient creatures they've created, so it wasn't long before the Necron tier had lost most of their planets and were exiled back to their shitty cancer solar system. The Old Ones value life a lot, so they didn't really bother finishing off the Necron tier. For a race of immortal wise space toads, that decision ended up being a really shitty call for them down the track. Anywho, the Necron tier continued their pitiful existence in the corner of the galaxy. They reignited their old civil war once again and kept waging their shriveled cocks at the galaxy in defiance and spite. This is where the Catan come back into it. Now, the pronunciation of Catan seems a bit ambiguous, so for simplicity's sake, I'm just gonna call them Stan. So yeah, the Stan come out and are like, yo, we are your gods, build us some cool vessels to inhabit and we can do god shit for you. But at the time, the Stan were just oversized star parasites, so they weren't super tactical. Anywho, the Necron tier created big metal vessels for the Stan to inhabit. Now more in touch with the reality and its many pleasures, the Stan realised that souls looked way yummier than stars. As such, the Stan, known as the Great Deceiver, offered an alliance to the Necron tier. He was like, "Yo bitches, if you help us kill the old ones, we'll give you immortality and lots of sunscreen." Considering those are the Necron tier's two favourite things, they accepted. Hence when the Stan were like, "Okay, I need you guys to build these fun, happy soul furnaces of joy and walk in them," which the Necron tier did for some reason. Their bodies and souls were stripped away and eaten by the Stan, while their minds were put into metal bodies of the Necrons that they are now known as today. To top it off, every single Necron was then forced into serving the Silent King, which to his credit he did kind of feel bad about. He considered freeing his people from mind slavery, but realised they would instantly turn on him for his part in turning everyone into soulless robots. Fair enough. Some especially strong-willed Necron tier were able to maintain some of their personality and free will as they were transformed, however they still lost their souls, so they weren't exactly exciting people to talk to. The Stan were now overpowered as fuck, having devoured the billions of souls, and were now supported by an extremely powerful Necron army. With this new force of Stan and Necron, the old ones and the young races they had cultivated were quickly overrun. The old ones were masters of the warp, however the Stan were masters of reality. Eventually the Necrons discovered how to breach the old ones' webway, which basically sealed the deal. It was like a big ass war, like the entire solar systems were being destroyed left, right and center. Makes the current situation of 40k look like a nice day in the sun. But yeah, eventually the old ones are pretty endangered and their successor races are just used as food by the unstoppable Stan. However, when you have a bunch of high as fuck evil gods running around, eventually they're going to return on each other. So the Stan started murdering and eating each other, while the Necrons just kind of ignored them and continued their war against the old ones. Although the Necrons were still winning, the lack of a coordinated Stan invasion meant that the old ones had time to breathe. And by breathe, I mean create a new generation of powerful species with greater connections to the warp. Soon these new species matured and joined the battle, and boy oh boy were they strong as fuck. The old one armies were now cunt-loaded with psykers, who would destroy thousands of Necrons with ease and fight off the Stan. In response to this, the Stan and the Necrons began creating anti-warp pylons that would permanently separate the warp from reality. But here is where it all goes to shit. Because of how abusive the old ones had been to the warp, combined with this new generation of warp-sensitive species knowing nothing but war, death and suffering, the previously pleasant natural warp had turned into the realm of chaos. Weird spider-like creatures called enslavers came forth and fucked the old ones shit up by mind-raping people, and it wasn't a good time for anyone. The Necrons are just probably confused as shit at this point, and they're just like, yeah, we're just here to have a good time. While the Stan is still trying to eat each other in weird flex-offs, and the old ones and their allies are fighting off evil telepathic spiders. Like, this was weird times, guys, weird times. Anywho, the old ones cark it, and their elder allies are almost extinct as well, so the Necrons do what they wanted to do for a while: kill the Stan. The Silent King had some big ass balls, and is able to defeat all the remaining Stan and break them up into shards. They're too dangerous to kill, so diminishing them was seen as a favourable alternative. It wasn't a clean uprising though. The Necron Empire had been smashed by the Stan, as well as the war with the old ones, hence the Silent King made a plan. Allow the mind-rape spiders to kill off the galaxy, allow the Elder to rise and then fall, and then by the time this occurred, only weak races will still be present in the galaxy, which the Necrons will easily be able to dominate. Hence all Necrons were ordered to sleep in tomb worlds for 60 million years. Then the Silent King destroyed the command protocol which gave him control of the Necrons, as he did not see himself as being worthy of the mantle. He also did not go to sleep like the rest of his race, instead flying into the stars to try and find some level of peace. Honestly guys, every single plan here ended poorly as fuck. Necrons wanted power or mortality, instead they became soulless husks, used as cannon fodder. Stan wanted the old ones dead and they wanted lots of souls. They ended up eating each other or getting smashed into small shards. The old ones wanted to win the war, but instead they went extinct and created the realms of chaos. Even the Silent King's plan of everyone going to sleep for 60 million years was shit. Billions of Necrons have died in hibernation, as Necron tomb worlds are getting destroyed by malfunctions, natural disasters, warp storms, or just some pissed off elder getting their revenge. It's gotten to the point when the Necrons are waking up considerably early due to how threatened they are. On top of this, the Necron leadership is completely fractured. For the first time ever, the Necron race is free, which is nice and all, but they need a bit of time to adjust. As such, each cluster of Necron tomb worlds are under the command of a different Necron dynasty. These dynasties are extremely diverse. For example, some dynasties will initiate diplomacy with nearby Xenos to try and get them to peacefully leave their tomb worlds, whilst other Necrons will just run genocidal Nazi campaigns. Some Necrons have strict laws in regards to the conduct of war, whilst other Necrons commit war crimes like there's no tomorrow. The only thing in common that Necrons have these days is their desire to reclaim their empires and somehow get their souls back. Because of the Necrons being given back their freedom, they have become significantly deeper as a faction as a result of it. Instead of just being like, must kill everything, space robots of death persona, they were rocking for a little while. The Silent King has also returned to the galaxy after going on his 60 million year holiday. And yeah, he's doing great. He fucking hates Tyranids and he encountered them in some of the other galaxies he was exploring. See, the Silent King really wants his people to return to an organic state, which if the Tyranids win, will be impossible as there'll be no biomass for him to use. Pretty cold reason for wanting to save the galaxy, but let's roll with it. He hates the Tyranids so much that he teamed up with the Blood Angels chapter in order to defeat some of them. On top of this, all the anti-warp weapons that the Necrons used to fight the old ones work exceptionally well against Chaos. The Necron pylons on Cadia were actually keeping the Eye of Terror at bay. It's common knowledge that Chaos can't be beaten, only delayed, but actually the Necrons can literally beat Chaos. By using their little warp spanking devices, they have the capability of permanently shutting off the warp from reality, meaning that no demon would ever be able to enter the material universe again. This would also make Psych as a thing of the past, but warp travel would also cark it, so it'd be a very different galaxy than the one we currently have. And I would say a better galaxy, as this one really sucks. The Necrons have some pretty insane super weapons at their disposal, like these cunts defeated and enslaved their own gods, so you know they pack a bit of a punch. The Silent King has actually destroyed many of these super weapons, as well as the knowledge required to make them, as in the current 40k setting they would just destroy everything. You gotta understand guys, the war against the old ones versus the Necrons and Stan was called the War in Heaven for a reason. Gods were literally one-shotting star systems. The Elder Gods got super involved in it as well, like Vol created the Blackstone fortresses and Cain was murking cunts with a big sword. The greatest still existing Necron weapon however is the Celestial Ori. It's basically a big holographic map of the galaxy. Sounds all G until you realize it's an interactive holographic map of the galaxy. If you were to trip over and fall on the map and let's say wipe out a solar system, in real life the solar system would then begin to die, millions of years before it would naturally usually go down. So you've got some cunt running through the Celestial Ori with his dick out and he smacked everything, then the entire galaxy would genuinely end. As such, the Necrons don't really use it much, which is quite good. You may be thinking, why are the Necrons, who are an unstoppable force of war, who have killed gods and conquered the galaxy, only a sub-threat at the moment? Well, that is because the Necrons don't really know what they want to do, and most of them are still asleep. If the Necrons had simultaneously arisen with the Silent King still in command, then they would have a lot more get shit done power. I personally would like to see the Necrons continue to enter into this anti-hero role they seem to be filling. They hate Tyranids, they hate Chaos, and well, they hate everyone else, but you can kind of see some potential there. The Necrons also have Orican the Divinia, who is a smart-ass motherfucker that can tell the future with extreme accuracy. The best part about it is if he is wrong, he'll just travel back in time to correct events to make sure he ends up right. Fucking mad lad. Between Imhotep conquering shit, the Silent King purging shit, and Orican predicting shit, the Necron have some serious talent in the field. They simply just need to get them all together in a little dream team and fist the arseholes of any who would oppose them. And that pretty much covers their lore up to date guys. We talk about what they did, how they got where they are now, and what they're currently doing. The Necron lore is actually really rich, so if this video does well then I'll be happy to delve further into it, or potentially cover the Stan, who are some OP motherfuckers. That'll do us for today guys. Join the Discord if you want to fuck around, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.